going to talk to you a little bit about early years and about primary and how we work together, because together we transform the child's learning. In early years, we're creating the best possible foundation.
And in the primary school, we're creating opportunities for your children to grow based on the foundations that our early years team have supported your children in firmly placed there.
So our aims for this afternoon, we're going to give you an overview of our curriculum and why we do what we do. And we're going to go into greater depth. When you go into the year groups and into the neighborhoods, you'll hear from the teachers who will be more specific about it.
We're going to introduce our leadership teams in primary and early years to you, just so you can familiarise yourself with their faces and kind of what their roles are in primary and early years school.
We're going to share our key foci for the year and what you can expect from us.
And then hopefully get you truly excited as well. We're very passionate about it, but excited about the year of learning ahead for your child and understanding a little bit more about why we do what we do here.
So we're going to start with early years. Early years encompasses our 2-year-old program, which is our 2-year-olds, EY1, which are our 3 and 4-year-olds, and EY2, which are our 4 and 5-year-olds. So I'm going to introduce you to our team. It is a team effort. Part of the team is you and your child, and then also our teachers, our LSAs, and then this is our leadership team. We have Nicola Vieira. She's going to be focusing on the environment and learning, and Kim Berry is going to be focusing on data and the EYFS and what we learned from that and how we can take it even further. And then Lindsay Graves is going to be our learning leader, and she's going to be looking at specific areas within the EYFS and how we can do different activities within the classroom. So the early years foundation stage is commonly known as the EYFS, and that's what we base everything on. It's from National Curriculum in the UK, and it's broken into 7 areas that are key for the foundation of all learning and development. At the end of EY2, we have the early learning goals, and that's what every child should come out of early years with. So 3 of the 7 areas are the prime areas. These are communication and language, physical development, personal, social, and emotional development. And these lay the foundation for every form of learning after that. Everything stems from this, and so it's really important that we have a nice, solid foundation here. The specific areas stem from that. So we have literacy, which is reading and maths. Then we have literacy is reading and writing. And maths are things like number, shape, measure, things like that. And then just as important are things like understanding the world. So it's learning about yourself and about people around you, also about technology. And then expressive arts and design. So that's a way of kids to use their creativity, their imagination, and it's another way of them expressing themselves in language. Underpinning all of the EYFS are the characteristics of learning. These are key. So with playing and exploring, it is kids feeling confident, willing to have a give it a go attitude. And then active learning is their engagement. It's also with them having grit and determination and being able to follow through with things. And then creating and thinking critically is all about thinking. And so it's making those links and making those connections. And these tie through all 7 of the other areas.
I'm going to talk a little bit now about the primary school. So the primary school is from year 1 up to year 6. And this is the primary leadership team. There's myself and my assistant head, Mr. Franklin. We're never normally far apart. I have 2 curriculum leaders in primary. Mrs. Clark, she leads on science. She also leads on some of the data analysis that we do with your children's information, and also on maths. Mrs. Suzanne Jones leads on literacy and reading. She works very closely as well with Ms. Camacho in the Agora. Mr. Pierce is our Director of Outdoor Learning, so he supports with all of our trips, all of our camps, and really helps to shape some really valuable off-site learning opportunities for your children. And then Mrs. Cowis is our newly appointed Head of Enrichment. So as you'll see, as you go through the neighbourhoods today as well, we're really growing our enrichment programme in primary and really trying to shape it. And Mrs. Cowers has been key in giving that structure and that shape and that purpose to it, and showing some really meaningful links to the curriculum. So I'm going to talk, this is our Learn programme, so we'll be referring back to this a lot of times throughout the year, and you will have seen it in Mr. Wilson's presentation, is that this is our learning programme. So these are all a combination of things that we do, the things that we feel, not yet, the things that we feel are important and unique to our vision programme. So I'm going to focus mostly on the academic element for primary, just to kind of give you an overview of where we draw our curriculum from and what our approaches are, and kind of where we're developing this year. And then when you're in your neighbourhoods, your children's neighbourhoods, they'll talk in more depth about what does enrichment look like in that year group, what does well-being look like in that year group, and that's particularly as well how we're developing our global partnerships. So our academic curriculum is drawn from various international curricula, but it's mostly based on the national curriculum from England and Wales. We use the national curriculum objectives in English, and they build on from the early years foundation stage literacy element. So the two programmes really do merge into one another beautifully. In maths, we use national curriculum, and also in science, and that kind of links mostly to the understanding the world element from the early years foundation stage. For our other subjects, we use the international primary curriculum. We feel as though it's the best curriculum that meets the needs of our internationally minded children and really helps to shape well-rounded learners. So each international primary curriculum element has a unit of learning. I'll show you some examples of the units of learning that have already begun this term already. And it encompasses, it's a multidisciplinary approach where children learn through a theme or a unit title. And it ties in all of the different subjects. So we're still doing geography, we're still doing history, we're still doing art and technology, but they're doing it through a multidisciplinary approach. And this year our languages team have also been on board with IPC, and they've attended some training that we've held in school for our teachers, so they're tying in the language units to IPC, which is really exciting for the children. So these are just some of the examples. You might be wondering why Mr. Brown was dressed as Pinocchio. Stories we tell. So the units of work in the IPC often begin with an entry point. So they're quite well defined, and Mrs. Bozeman's going to talk a little bit about what the difference between a unit of work in the early years is and in the primary school. So it has a very defined beginning and a very defined exit point. Sometimes we dress up, sometimes we have specialists, experts in to speak with us about different areas of expertise. Sometimes we line up on the grass with a suitcase, gateways to the world. We had some very interesting a day in the life of outfits for occupations, so I'm very excited about the future of those children. And here, now and then, so it's like a big bang moment that really sparks the children's curiosity and generates questions that help us shape the direction of learning. So they're very involved in directing the learning through that unit. Okay. So there are some common threads, and what a goal of ours today is to highlight to you the common threads that run through not just primary and early years, but also through the school. And one of the unique things about our school is our PE curriculum as well. So our PE curriculum has drawn from best practice around the world. I think it's a really great example of where people are looking to best practice and making a bespoke curriculum for our school. So the PE curriculum draws from the national curriculum from England and Wales. It also looks at Shape America, the national standard, which is a US program, and also the long-term athlete development model from Canada. And it looks to develop the skills through a range of sports. So rather than just teaching the sport, the children are learning skills across a range of sports, so they're transferring those skills.
One of our global partners is Juilliard, and our performing arts department uses a combination of music and drama and dance when they're developing their lessons with the children. Specialist teachers start in EY1 with our 3-year-olds and then go all the way up through primary.
Our approaches are also common as well. That's something that we share, other approaches. This is how we teach and how we help facilitate learning for children. So in both early years and primary and through the rest of our schools, you'll see co-constructive. So like I mentioned about the children in an IPC unit, the learning is shaped by what interests them. We have parameters, so it's not a massive open inquiry. We have parameters and learning goals that the children need to hit and that guide us. But where we can allow the children to co-construct the learning, then we certainly encourage it and help them shape that unit of learning. Collaboration is very important, and we teach a lot of collaborative skills, but also we teach independent skills. So children need to know how to work with others and also how to work by themselves. We teach the skills of inquiry at appropriate levels for each age group. We also teach project-based learning, so children will engage in meaningful projects, and a personalised learning approach. That's supporting children where they need to be supported and challenging them when they need that as well. So we're going to talk just a little bit about some of the key priorities for the early years in primary school this year.
So our main priorities are communication and clarity, as well as curriculum, teaching, and learning.
So a lot of the feedback that we've had from parents is that really wanting us to be able to articulate very clearly and share with you the curriculum and understand what your child is learning at school, how we're going to measure your child's progress, and how we communicate and share that information with you. And that's very important to us as well, is to improve the clarity of our everyday communication that we're sharing with you.
So one of the ways that we're doing this is you will receive unit overviews. So you'll receive the route maps for the whole entire year, but then you'll receive unit overviews right before we're going to start a unit in early years, and then curriculum booklets will go out half-termly throughout primary. And this gives you specific information about each one of the units. In the early years, you can see that there are different boxes, and it all relates back to the EYFS. So how does it relate to communication and language? How does it relate to the maths?
And one thing that the primary year leaders and year teams will be sharing with you today, not just the curriculum booklet for this half term, but you'll see the entire overview for the year, how they've linked the different subjects. So IBC and science and other subjects in English is also linked as well. So in order to help you on a more regular basis understand what your child is learning at school, you will have been receiving some year group newsletters from the heads of year, normally on a Friday, and this is just a weekly update. So that's this place for you to see what learning is taking place. There may be some tips and hints on things to talk about with your child. We're focusing on our learning leader profile, so that's a weekly process that we're looking at, and also just broken down into the different subject areas, things that might be coming up, and tips on how to help the children at home.
Another area that we're sharing at school and the way to show your child's learning is through Seesaw. So on a regular basis, you will be receiving updates. In early years, the teachers are posting the communication on Seesaw, such as photos, little written descriptions of things, also videos and audio clips. And then in primary, once they get to year one, the children start doing it. And so you're going to see an increase in frequency, particularly as they get into the higher levels of primary. So in this, we're looking at how our children's progress are being measured. In early years, we're measuring against the ages and stages bands of the EYFS. And then again, like we talked about earlier, at the end of EY2, then we'll measure them against the early learning goals.
And as the children move into year one and they're looking at the national curriculum objectives, the teachers are making assessments all of the time against those objectives. They're looking at the skills and they're assessing the goals. In terms of our formal reporting scale, we'll be using the 7-to-1 reporting scale for maths, English, science and our other subjects, apart from our IPC, where we'll be using the IPC rubric this year. As we come around to report time, you'll see in my weekly letter and also in the Fish Bulletin, we'll be putting on a session for parents to help you understand the information that we're going to provide in the report. And the report's going to be a very academic-based report, and then we're complementing that, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I'm skipping ahead. Sorry, Mrs. Bolton. So also, for children in years 4 to 6, we do carry out some externally standardised assessments, and you'll have seen from Mr. Kane's communication this week. This year we are using the MAP assessments. We've used CAT assessments, CAT testing. We've used that for a few years now, and we introduced it in all of years 4, 5 and 6 last year. CAT is a cognitive abilities test, and that gives us predictors about potential achievement, and it's another benchmark for us to look at our internal school data, external data, and then just triangulate that to make sure that the decisions and the assessments that we're coming to have a firm evidence base. The MAP assessment is going to be used this year for internal school data, so we're going to look at trends in classes, we'll pull individual data on individual children, and we'll look at their reports as well. So this is the first year for us, but like with the CAT testing, if you want to come into school and you want to see your child's MAP report, please let myself or your head of year know, and we'll pull that report and we'll sit and we'll talk through that with you. And this was just a little reminder for us, is that progress doesn't look like this. Progress isn't a straight line. Anything to do with children is always a bit squiggly and a bit wiggly, and they make progress in lots of different ways.
Okay, so some of the ways that we measure progress or talk about progress will be on Seesaw, like we talked about. Then you'll also have regular contact with your classroom teacher. At any point in the year, you're welcome to schedule an appointment with your teacher. We also will have 3 written reports per year. You'll have one in November, one at the end of February, beginning of March, and then another one in June. And then we'll have parent-teacher conferences that also follow that up.
So we'll have 3 academic reports throughout the year, but also to complement the academic report. In primary, the children will start building a personal learning portfolio, and this is really an opportunity for the children to reflect on their learning outside of just the academic curriculum, because our children do so much more when they're with us, when they're not with us. So that's an opportunity for children to celebrate and reflect on those experiences as well. And the parent-teaching student conferences, or student-led conferences, in primary we've tweaked them just a little bit so that there'll be a formal element to it where if you want to speak directly with the class teacher, there'll be an opportunity for that. So we'll get that balance between the student leading you through their learning journey, and then also your opportunity to have a one-to-one conversation with the teacher. So, a lot of feedback that we've had, and I'm a parent too, so I receive a lot of communication from the school, is how am I supposed to know what I need to know? So where's the right place to look for information? What we're really trying to do is streamline that information. So our goal is that on a Monday you'll get the Vish Bulletin, and that is whole school news. So that is all throughout the phases, early years, primary, all the way up to our high school students. We also have Mr. Wilson's podcast on a Monday. On Wednesdays, you'll be receiving a head of school update. That's from me to the primary school, so that's just primary school news. Mrs. Bozeman sends one to early years on a Friday. You also have, and we've put the gold star next to this, your year group newsletter or email. So that is the gold standard. Don't tell Mr. Wilson that we said that, but this is the gold. If there's one thing that you're going to read the year group newsletter. That will tell you what you need for your child the week ahead. It will tell you what your child's doing in school. It will remind you when they have a trip, they need a week, they're going to be swimming, all that good stuff, so that you can get them to school with all of the right stuff and have the right information. And then obviously there's the class and individual student communication. So that's the communication that you have directly with the class teacher about your child, or things that just impact on that class. So our next focus is looking at our curriculum. We're obviously always developing every area of the curriculum, but each year we do have specific areas that we're focusing on. Last year in the primary school we did a lot of work on maths and English. That work will continue. We've just shifted our focus a little bit now to develop another area of the curriculum. And we're just always trying to ensure that what we're delivering is the very, very best version of it for your children, and also so that for our teachers to keep progressing in their careers and as professionals themselves.
So as we talked earlier, this is the overview for the entire year. There's one for early years 1 and one for early years 2. These are our route maps that gives you an outline of the entire school year with the units of inquiry. And then again, right before we start each one, you'll get a more specific one relating to all of the areas in the UIFS.
In primary, we've really been focusing on the international primary curriculum. So before children came back to school, we did a lot of training with the teachers. We're very lucky to have an IPC accreditor, Mrs. Kiernan, on our staff, who did some really excellent training to really help us improve and be the best version of the IPC that's right for our school. So we have refreshed and revitalised our IPC units. So some units are new. We've carried on with some old favourites that the children love and that we always find very valuable learning experiences. But also the teachers have really chosen to put some new units of learning into that route map. So what you'll see is the route map throughout the year, and then as the year progresses, I'll make available to you all the route maps throughout the primary school, so you can see the links in that journey as well. And it's very exciting. If you talk to any of the teachers in primary about the IPC, they're very excited about it this year. This is a focus for both early years and primary this year, is looking at our maths, our approach to teaching maths. So as I say, we use the early years foundation stage maths goals, and we use the national curriculum objectives for maths, but we're looking at our approach, and we're looking at what is the best international methodology, what is the best way of teaching maths to help everybody achieve more. And we've been looking at the mastery approach to maths, and you'll see from the school calendar we have a teacher training day next Friday, and our staff will be in on Friday and on Saturday, and we have a trainer coming over from the UK talking to us about breast international practice and working with us all throughout that next week. So we're really investing in that and really hope that we'll enrich the children's learning in maths. The goal of this is to encourage multiple ways of problem solving and also lots of different strategies.
And as we talked in the beginning, it's about partnership between you as parents and us as educators, and it's really, really important, not only because of the relationship that we have, but also because it will have a positive impact on your child and their academic progress. It will also help build their social skills. It will strengthen your relationship with your child and also our relationship with your child, and it will strengthen your child's self-esteem.
Yeah? Whatever you want. Sorry.
Part of this as well is, you may want to lead into what you're going to do. We have parents in partnership workshops. So this year, in early years, we're going to focus a lot on the early years foundation stage, the UIFS, and so different months we're going to talk about different aspects of it. So the primary is the characteristics of learning, the specific areas, and then that kind of leads into it.
Thank you very much. So this is a shameless plug for Friday afternoon at 2:45 in the BOMA. We really do value having you as part of our school community, and when we work together, your children absolutely do thrive. You have many, many skills to offer. We've benefited so much from your support, and we continue to. So at 2:45 we are launching our community. That was Mr. Franklin's pun on community. Community parent volunteer event. And this is an opportunity where we're going to ask you to come into school if you have the time to come and listen to some of the things that our teachers say it would be really great to have parent support with. And so far there's some really kind of exciting opportunities, and I think that our parents have wonderful skill sets that we could really benefit more from if you're willing to give us some of your time or just come along and have a listen. So, and if you can't, you can email me and I'll give you all the information as well. So there's many ways for you to get involved. So hopefully we have kind of given you a little bit of an outline about how the early years and the primary school work together and how our programs build and thrive upon each other. And hopefully you're excited to learn more about your children's learning journey. So at 3:30, it's time to collect your children. CCAs are running as normal, so if your child ordinarily goes to a CCA, that's where they will be. They also finish at normal time, so at 4:30 they'll be in the BOMA, so please do go collect them. In between those times, you've got 3 opportunities to visit your child's or your children's year groups. So there's one session from 3:45 until 4:15, There's another at 4:45 till 5:15, and then the final session is 5:30 till 6 p.m. In the neighbourhoods, there will be activities set up in different rooms for your children, so take your children along with you, and they'll be occupied, and you can listen to the heads of year and the year team really talk about some of the things that we've shared, but in more depth and how it relates to your child and their specific year group. So thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We'll both be around if you have any questions or you want to grab us. Enjoy your afternoon. Thank you.